When was the last time you did something just for yourself? A moment you actually took to do something just for yourself, without serving anyone, solving anything, or feeling guilty. If you don't remember, it's because it's been too long. True self-care is not a spa, facial mask, or relaxing tea. It's the boundary you set to avoid disappearing into the needs of others. It's the courage to be useless for a while, to do something that serves no one but yourself. The problem is that we think taking care of ourselves requires more effort and more time, leading us to neglect our own needs in favor of others. But the secret is not in adding tasks. It's about reclaiming spaces that were lost. Your energy is finite, and you have the right to be the first person to use it. Today, we will talk about 7 habits that return control of your pace to you. The useless hobby. Not every hobby needs to reach its full potential. Learning or developing a skill doesn't mean you have to become a professional in another area of your life. Sometimes, all we need is a space without rules where we can experiment. It could be taking care of and learning more about plants, painting a canvas that no one will see but where you can express yourself creatively, or reading fiction that doesn't teach anything practical. The point is not the result, but the process of unwinding. When you allow yourself to do something without the goal of performance, you signal to your nervous system that you are not a results machine. You are a human, and your pleasure does not need to be justified by a list of completed tasks. This is why a useless hobby is one of the most powerful forms of self-care. It's the one space in your life that exists only for you. No deadlines, no expectations, no one to impress. And that space is what keeps your identity alive beyond your responsibilities. That's where you remember that you are more than what you produce. And that reminder, even for 15 minutes a few times a week, changes the way you carry everything else. Sensory contemplation. Choose a moment of the day to dedicate 2 minutes of absolute attention to something that doesn't need fixing. Look for a detail in your garden or the way the light comes through the window and just observe without trying to fix anything around. This habit restores your sense of presence. It is the moment when you stop being the guardian of others' lives and become the observer of your own existence. It's a small void of peace in a world that demands you always be on alert. The habit of the 5-minute break consists of sitting in absolute silence, without screens, between one activity and another. It takes 5 minutes to close all open processes in the mind so that you can start a new task. When you switch activities without a transition, part of the brain continues processing the previous task. The result is that you are never fully where you need to be. This small pause prevents the stress of one role from contaminating the next. It is the moment when you stop being the professional, the household manager, and the problem solver, and return to just being yourself, breathing and present before the next demand. Without this pause, you just keep reacting, moving from one thing to another without ever truly arriving where you are. The curation of the gaze. We need to be honest about where we place our attention. Short and quick content keeps your brain in a state of micro-alertness that drains your energy. Replace these stimuli with deeper content, long videos, well-produced documentaries, or a book that makes you think. By choosing what goes into your head, you reclaim the curation of your own mood. Your mind is not a trash can for superficial information. It is a space that deserves to be nourished with beauty and real knowledge. If the external world is in chaos, your inner refuge needs to be preserved firmly. Protecting your mind ensures that, at the end of the day, there is still something left of you for yourself. This habit involves understanding that the quality of your thoughts directly reflects what you choose to observe. If you only consume fragmented and small pieces of information, your internal feeling will be fragmented too. Simplifying what you see is the first step to simplifying how you feel. The next step is what I call a solo date. Set aside 30 minutes a week to be in a public place, alone, with no purpose. You are not there to buy something, solve a problem, or be useful to someone. You are there to observe the world and enjoy your own company. The place matters less than the intention. What matters is being there without a phone as a shield, without a to-do list in your head, and without needing to justify that time to anyone. If sitting alone with no purpose feels uncomfortable, that's not a problem. In fact, that's the point. It means you forgot what it feels like to exist without performing. Being alone in public, without hurry and without a screen, is a small and silent act of courage. It is where you stop being a function and return to being a person, opening space for self-discovery and self-preservation. This habit changes one central thing: your relationship with your own time. When you learn to be comfortable with yourself, rest is no longer something you need to negotiate. You simply rest without guilt, because you understand that if you don't protect your time, no one will protect it for you. The weekly review. Once a week, sit down and look at your last 7 days with honesty. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. What drained me? What made me feel good? And what can I cut? Most people never do this. They go from week to week on autopilot, repeating the same patterns, carrying the same weight, wondering why nothing changes. This habit breaks that cycle. It forces you to see where your energy is actually going, and once you see it clearly, you start making different choices. Small, quiet adjustments that protect your time and your peace. You will be surprised by how much changes when you simply stop to look at how you've been living. 10 minutes of honesty once a week can save you from months of running in the wrong direction. The movement of the body. For this entire structure of mind and time to function, we need to look at where all of this manifests: your body. Forget the idea of exercise as punishment or aesthetic performance. Real self-care involves what I call body movement. The focus is not on training, but on inhabiting your body. There is no healthy and happy life within a stagnant body. Start with 10 minutes a day, a mindful stretch upon waking, yoga exercises, Pilates, or a short walk. A body that moves with intention responds differently to stress, sleeps better, and thinks more clearly. When you stop ignoring your body and start taking care of it as an ally, everything you have built in other habits gains a firm place to lean on. None of these habits is grand. None require money, equipment, or a revolution in your schedule. What they demand is a decision that seems simple but changes everything. The decision that you are also a priority in your own life. It requires you to consistently make more time for yourself, not after everything is resolved, not when there's time left, but now. Because the truth is, the world will never stop asking. The demands won't slow down. No one is going to look at you and say, "Rest, you've done enough." That phrase has to come from you. And when it does, you'll realize something important. Taking care of yourself doesn't take anything from anyone. The best version you give to the world starts the moment you stop being the last person on your own list.